Alright, I've got my starter wires moved over to this side, and we're going to look at the compression on number one. Let's see, is the throttle wide open? I don't think there's any linkage on this thing. Yeah, I can't tell if the throttle's open or not. I just want to see if we have compression. That's 100. That's enough to start. That's enough to make the magic happen. Almost dead on, same. Well, that's a lot higher. It's 120. This is the one that had the hanging valve when I first bought the tractor that caused so much problem when I was trying to get this started. That resulted in me having this head rebuilt. So hopefully this is still healthy. Low compression on that one again, but not zero compression like it had when I first bought the tractor. It's only going up to 90 and it's bleeding off. I wonder if it could also be my connection here. Not necessarily getting a really good connection. Sealing that O-ring, I don't know. That's just wishful thinking. Yeah, no, that compression's low on that cylinder again. I'm not quite getting 90 out of it. But, crazy as it sounds, that might actually improve after it runs a little bit. Piston rings could be sticking. Alright, so let's throw a little of that in there. And if my compression goes up, then it's most likely piston and ring related. If it stays the same, then it could be a valve issue. Now it's went up over 90 and it's holding. So now it's just squirting that little bit in there, cause this to come up and match the compression of number one and number two. So number 3 is high, and number 1s, 2, and 4 are all about the same at about 100 pounds. I can live with that. I can if you can. Oh, look at that. Got some oil leaking right here at that capillary tube. There's a crack in it, but that means my oil pump is working. All right, so I just spent several minutes putting some wiring together, some temporary wiring. The next step in the holy trinity of internal combustion engines. We've got compression, we need spark, and then of course we need fuel. So we're working on spark right now. So this is the wiring I had on here from before that was working fine. We've got a wire that comes from the points inside the distributor, goes to one side of the ignition coil. The wire coming out of the other side of the ignition coil comes up to this white device right here, which is a ballast resistor. And then we have a wire coming off the ballast resistor here that I now have going to a toggle switch. And coming off the other end of the toggle switch, I come down to a momentary push button. On this side of the switch, I have the 12 volts coming from the battery. So right now, there's 12 volts on this black wire. It's going through this white wire to the switch. When the switch is off, no ignition. Put the switch on, 12 volts will be sent here. On the other side of the push button, I've got the switch going to the solenoid, so now I have a push button to start. So I can crank the engine with the ignition off if I want to. What I've got to do next is check for spark. I would be shocked, pardon the pun, if there's actually any spark coming out of this thing, because the one thing I know about points ignitions systems like this is that they do not like to be left alone. They get lonely. Okay, so I'm gonna turn my ignition on. and ground this plug right here, crank the engine. And as I suspected, no spark. So we're gonna have to open up that distributor. So to make sure I get the distributor back on correctly, because you could accidentally put it on 180 degrees out, I'm just gonna make a mark right here, this soapstone, and that's my number 1 cylinder. And I know it's right there on the top. So now I can just pop these clips off. Alright, that doesn't look horrible in there. A little bit of spider activity maybe. So this is what it looks like inside the distributor when you first take the cap off. What this is this is called a rotor. This spring-loaded part right here actually makes contact with the post inside the top of the cap in the center, which is where the high voltage from the ignition coil enters. Then what happens is, as the engine rotates this area right here comes in close proximity to the connections on the underside of the cap going to each plug wire, and that's how it distributes the spark to each cylinder as it's going around. So we want to get to the points behind here, so this should just slide off, and it does. Okay, I'm looking at this disc right here. I'm noticing that this has got an International Harvester symbol right on it, so that's a genuine International Harvester part. That's kind of cool. And it looks like this just unscrews. No, it doesn't. It just kind of slips in there. And what that exposes is the points, which are these contacts right here, and the condenser, which is a type of capacitor. So now I'm going to get something to clean those points. Alright, I cleaned the points. I also got the distributor cap back on correctly. There was a gap here. It wasn't actually seated correctly. So now, turn my ignition on, ground my spark plug, crank the engine. Still no spark. Interesting. I'm going to clean up these connections on the ignition coil. They're pretty rusty. I want to make sure that those are good connections. Same thing with this connection here on the distributor. That one right there. Alright, I cleaned up these connections right here. Getting ready to test again. The other thing I did was, now I've taken my spark plug wire, I've gone directly into the ignition coil. The reason why I did that is so that I can I should see a spark jump on every revolution, as opposed to if I'm just looking at one of the 4 cylinders, I'm only going to see a spark once every 4 revolutions of the crank. So this should give me a little more action in case I'm having trouble seeing it in this sunlight. Still no spark. Make sure my 12 volts is there. Yeah, it is. Alright, so we get the distributor open back up, and I took the points out. The points on this distributor are interesting. They're 2-piece. They come into 2 pieces, so the actual, almost like anvil, part of the points actually stay behind in the distributor, and you can take this part out. But I got both parts out so I can really clean these contacts. So it's really kind of hard to clean them. And then I'll reset the point gap while I'm in there. And then the other thing I did was I checked the condenser. I just did a real quick check with my ohm meter. To check a condenser with an ohm meter, it's not a definitive check, but it's pretty good. You put your auto ranging ohm meter on a high resistance scale, and then you don't want to be touching the probes when you do this, because your body resistance will affect it. But when I ground this other lead, I will complete the circuit, and the battery inside the meter will start charging that capacitor up, and you'll actually see the resistance drop. I'm sorry, go up. So you see how it starts low and it goes up until it reaches auto limit? That's normal. Now if I take the power off and I put it back on again, it won't do it again. Why? Because the cap is charged. So if I take the lead and I ground it, I now discharge the cap. I can now do what I just did again. Well, all right, you get the gist of it. I'm getting a little sick of this. I also have a built-in capacitance checker on that meter, and I checked, and this is reading like 0.18 microfarad or something along that line. So there's nothing to indicate that there's a problem with the. If you read a resistance and it stays and it doesn't change, then you probably have a short in the condenser, in which case you would probably get no spark at all. I'm getting a spark when I manually open the points, so I'm thinking it's more of an issue with just the contacts here and resetting the point gap. All right, I just filed the bejesus out of these points. They were really badly pitted. I need a new set. Unfortunately, my local auto parts store is out of stock on these. And if I order them, they're going to be, I don't know, one place they're like 18 bucks and change, and another place like 20. But you can buy them online for cheaper, so I'm probably just going to hopefully get away with filing these for now and order a new set. Of course, they come with a new condenser too. All right, so I've got the points back in. I have to set the point gap to 20 thousandths, but I have to have this in a position where this cam is opening the points to the maximum, and that's where I set the 20 thousandths. I tried bumping the starter, but it seems like it always just wants to go right past that high spot. So I'm just going to manually rotate the crankshaft over. Luckily, there's an auxiliary shaft that sticks way out of the front of this tractor to drive a hydraulic pump for a loader that's not on the tractor right now. Nice, easy spot to get a wrench onto to rotate this thing.
I'll rotate you up.
Yeah, you just gotta do it real slow.
Towards?
Yeah. Keep going. Keep going. A little more. A little more. A little more. A little more. A little more.
That's all I can do.
That's gotta be pretty close.
I can move it a little bit more.
Just a little bit. Yeah, I'm gonna say that that's probably maxed out right there. So that's where I want to set my points at 20 thousandths. Gonna loosen this screw. Slide this forward. I got a 20 thousandths feeler gauge. Like that. I don't want to push on it too hard because I don't want to actually be opening the points even further. Snug it up a little bit. Now I can tighten it a lot. There. Pretty good. And in the old days, they used to use a matchbook cover, you know, paper matches, cardboard. They used to use a cardboard cover on a book of matches.
Feeler gauge.
As a feeler gauge, yeah. Well, from what I read online, these international harvesters are finicky. And they like 20 thousandths.
Now try it if you get started.
Yeah. Put my switch on. Oop, I don't have a spark plug in there.
Over here.
What?
You sure the spark plugs are good?
Yeah, they like brand new. They got hardly any hours on them.
Under the...
There we go. Ow! Oh!
Ow.
What happened was it was still spinning.
Yeah, it is.
When I took this off, and the high voltage had nowhere else to go, so
Took you at ground.
took me as a ground. All right, good. Now, what's that? Yeah, I shocked myself.
That was shocking.
Shocking. All right, this goes.
I was doing a wheelie and
Uh-oh.
I was doing wheelies.
And he hurt his wrist.
No.
Can't go to shop Monday.
I came down too hard.
And now he feels dizzy.
No. I was doing a wheelie and I came down really hard. Fun. Doing wheelies is fun. And I'm really good at it now.
Just not coming down. He's not good at coming down.
I'm not good at feathering the brake. Where does that one go to?
Huh?
Where does that one go to?
The ignition coil?
What if your coil's bad?
Then you wouldn't get any spark?
Daddy?
Hmm?
You just gotta start it.
Well, I could throw a little fuel in it and see what it does. Alright, let's see. Go shut that off for me. Alright, this was number 1. Ignition coil backup. Alright, so this was number 1. The firing order is 1, 3, 4, 2. So 1. So this is number 3. That's going to be here. Yeah, right. And this is 4. Right. So this is 2. Right, 1, 3, 4, 2. Yeah, so this is 2. Okay. First thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to put a little bit of gas in one of the cylinders. Make sure it's going to pop off.
Do you have it empty?
Because I'm not sure if this... Don't worry about it. I don't even know whether or not this starter can turn this engine with all the spark plugs in, because then it has to fight the compression. The starter's was in really bad shape. So... just throw a little gas in there. Alright, ignition on. Yep, signs of life, that's for sure. Okay. Shut the ignition off. Alright, now for giggles, we'll put some gas right down into that carburetor. I don't need to put a tank on it right away. I could just put gas down that line into the bowl, and we might be able to get it running off of just the gas in the bowl for short duration. Ah, crap. Why does that seem to be blocked? Alright, that was not good. I got gas all over my hands, which I was trying to avoid.
The filter?
More than likely, I wouldn't be surprised at all if an insect went up inside this tube and made a nest. Like a mud dauber or something like that. So I would say, not going to worry about that. This is how this hose has been on here for the past, I don't know how many years, hanging down like this. So rain couldn't have gone into it, but an insect could have easily crawled up inside there.
This one good?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's blocked. It's big time. Alright, let's take this line off of here.
Crunchy. It's that line.
Yep.
Not blowing on that one. How did that taste?
It was blowing. It's sucking. Alright, all clear. There's some nasty stuff in there. I'm coming in.
Daddy.
Okay, I'm gonna put some gas in here now. I don't want to put too much in there because I may end up having to just take this whole carburetor off.
Where's the throttle linkage?
It's not hooked up. I don't know if it's even going in the carburetor.
It probably is.
See if the float needle is stuck closed.
It
then-
would pour. Or no.
No, then then it wouldn't be filling up the bowl, it would be just backing up here and coming out here. Doesn't seem to be doing, so I think it might be going in. All right,
Let's see. This is the throttle linkage. That's a pain in the ass, the way this is made. Alright, so I'll just leave it about halfway there. It's wet with gas around where this connection is, so I would say gas is going in there maybe. Alright, I'm going to pull this choke closed.
oh, let me get my wiring on the other side. Oh, actually, I can't. Oh, that was a mistake. I put all my I made my wires too short. All my ignition and everything's on this side. That's all right. Let's see. Make sure this is neutral.
Imagine it wasn't.
Of course, the choke butterfly controls on the back side.
I think it works.
Something.
It flung dirt at me.
Oh, where's my little thing? Where'd that go? Oh, it fell off.
What's that for?
Catch oil coming out of this line right here,
Why?
so it doesn't go on the ground. Why do you ask some questions?
I asked a lot of questions.
That's got a lot of questions that don't need to be asked. Yeah, we don't see the oil dripping out. We don't want oil on the ground. Luckily, it's on a tractor.
Cleans it. Start it again.
Yeah, if it starts again. Alright, let's try it again. Seemed like it was just running off maybe that gas that was in that
Piston.
cylinder, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hard to say. Also, for the life of me, I can't remember which way is throttle up and throttle down on this thing.
What does the pedal do? Do you push it down?
What
Or-
pedal? That's the clutch pedal.
What's the throttle?
Throttle would be up on the steering column if it was hooked up.
Okay, what is it? When you go up, when you push it up, does it go faster? Or when you push it down, does it go faster?
Usually it's up is faster. So let's see. All right, so forward is this way.
Oh, your belt there doesn't look that good. Where does the original gas thing go?
It actually sits in this area underneath here. Believe it or not, it sits like right here. So it's like completely in the way of working on the steering, and also over here.
Did you fix the steering?
Nope.
Like how somebody reinforced these.
Damn it, I'm on the battery now. All right. I'm pulling the linkage the other way just for the heck of it. It just runs for a second and dies. Sure seems like gas, not getting gas. I think we're gonna take that carburetor apart, and by we I mean me.
Why doesn't those have nuts in it? Or does it go to the bottom?
What are you talking about?
Nothing. Looks like there's nothing in that hole.
Oh, because these are bolts going up from the bottom. This is a bolt head. This bolt. That's the top of it. I know, it's a weird way they did it. This is actually leaking right here.
The seal.
Yeah, that looks like that's gasket's not doing a very good job. So, oh no, actually that's a stud with a nut on it. That's what that is. I mean, if I could see fuel coming out here, then I would think it's sucking air like crazy into it. Yeah, I should just stop messing around, just killing the battery for nothing. I should pull that carburetor off, clean it, put it back together.